All right, I am out on a camping trip, and you are not going to be seeing this on the Wednesday, the normal day that I usually record and post, but I am still recording it on a Wednesday. Even though there is no functional reason for that, I could definitely still wait till I'm back home, record this, and post it then, but I'm here because this means more to me than just simply getting out there and posting a video or having another thing to put out in the world. This definitely is a big part of it, but the intentionality behind why I do this is far more than that. It's to have something to look forward to almost in order to express the thoughts on my mind, to be able to show up and say what I am thinking and express something that I find very important. How do I perceive the life around me? And how can you specifically maybe gain something from that? This is what I love to do. I love watching people explain their lives because it gives me the time to gain something new. And so being able to show up consistently and be able to share that is the intentionality behind it for me. And that is really what I wanted to talk about today is intentionality and how do we bring a little bit more of it into our lives? Because I feel it is a very big key to unlocking so much missing potential that there is there. And it really is something that doesn't necessarily take more time out of your day, but as we'll talk about here, it does take more energy. And that is what scares people away from it in the first place. Well, I think the first question you would normally ask when talking about intentionality is what even is it? What is it in the first place? And it is simply, in my opinion, just doing things with more thought put to them and understanding why you are showing up to do a certain thing. Understanding that thoroughly and acting upon that in the moment. A great example that I like to use is if you're making a birthday card for a friend, something that we've probably all done once or twice. Now, a general consensus would be intentionality is, making a card from scratch rather than going out and buying a pre-made card. But I believe that you can intentionally, go out and buy a pre-made card and very intentionally make that card better just by thinking about it. In the same way, if you're making a card from scratch, you can also do that very unintentionally and just kind of go through the motions getting that done. But the intentionality is you sitting there while you're making that card and asking yourself, okay, what is this really for? Okay, why do we send birthday cards in the first place? How can I make this fulfill what its purpose is? Thinking about that friend that you're sending this to or the family member, how have they changed your life? How have they impacted you? And sitting with that while you're making the card rather than just simply going through the motions. Everyone can make a card, write happy birthday, here's $20. Sitting down and actually taking the little extra time to think intentionally, why am I doing this? What does this matter? What am I trying to get across? And actually putting that down onto the page. That is what makes the difference. And the same words could even be written. The same words could be intentionally written or unintentionally written. It could be the same exact looking card. But the intentionality, what it does for you is it gives you the benefit. Even if the card's the same, sure, the other person might not notice, though I would say that they kind of do in the end. But that benefit is something that you get from it, something that you have because you took the time to actually realize what you're doing, to live in the moment. You're going to make the birthday card anyways. Why not squeeze all of the life out of it that you can? Trying to do this in every moment can feel exhausting, and I wouldn't say that every single thing in life does need the same amount of intentionality. There are some things like getting through taxes that are simply get through it, move on. But when it comes to things that are very connected to relationships, very connected to how you live your own life, I don't want you to fall in only a habitual manner in doing those things. Because if you aren't taking the time to realize what does it actually mean for you, why am I showing up and doing this, you're going to end up at some point having a false perspective. And that is going to bring down your consistency, and it's really going to show in the work. If you're not able to show up and actually make something do what it's supposed to do, well, what are you doing? You're just making a product, basically, that has no intentional thing behind it, and you are not receiving all that much benefit from the actual act of getting it through. Now, if you come in with a very intentional mindset and think about what you are doing, actually process it. Why am I doing this? What is its purpose? How can I, squeeze the life out of it? Well, you end up having something come out on the other side of something with fivefold of the benefits, because you simply took the time to think more. And that's the thing, is it doesn't necessarily take much more time in the sense of the hours that pass by or the minutes that you'll lose, but it does take more energy. Thinking about things, of course, will always take more energy than not. And this is the sacrifice that we have to make in order to live an intentional life. If we want to sit down and think about things, we're going to feel, that tiredness from it. It is almost a sport in a way. The more you do it and the more you are used to that exercise and you have this mental endurance in that sense, the easier it will become, but it does take time to build that mental endurance up. You have to give yourself a little bit of leniency, but that should not scare you away from sitting down and thinking about why you are doing anything that you do, especially when it comes to habits. Think about it for a minute. Why do you actually get up and brush your teeth? Not just for the reasons of the dentist tells you or blah, 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 whatever scientific reason. What does it actually mean to you? Well, I would say for me, myself, brushing my teeth is a great sign of the fact that I respect my body. I respect my health. I'm going to take this little bit of time to help keep a part of my body from rotting away and keep it clean, fresh, and that is because I respect me and I respect my body. And now I can come in and look at brushing my teeth in a whole new way. And it seems a little trivial, it seems a little dumb almost, but it actually does make a difference if you are serious about this. It does seem a little dumb, but I am serious about brushing my teeth just the same as I am serious about any other very important aspect of my life. It is something that, I would say the majority of people already do, but still, that does not mean that is simply something that everyone should just, take for granted. You have to recognize why you are doing the things you are doing, and having this understanding brings you closer to a very fulfilling life. Because even when you can gain some sense of confidence, some sense of achievement from brushing your teeth, you start to look at life in a whole new way. Okay, why do I want to wake up in the morning at this certain time? Why do I want to go to sleep at this certain time? Why do I want to stay away from eating these certain foods? And why do I want to eat more of these? Answering these questions truthfully and finding the root of it. And I would recommend this strays away from simply the scientific answers to it. Because sure, there is always a scientific benefit that you can get from doing such and such, but what does that actually mean to you? Why are you getting the benefit? For example, I take cold plunges and I have gotten cold, as I call it, for I would say half a year now, every single day without missing. And, you know, you can go online and read hundreds and hundreds of different statistics about the actual benefits of what ice baths and cold plunges actually do for you. There's some things that say it increases blood circulation, blah, 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 builds immune system. And sure, I receive that benefit from it, but I don't do it for that reason. I don't care about any of the scientific benefits that my body is receiving. The one thing that I care about is the mental benefit of the fact that I don't like being cold and I make myself be cold every single day. I've held that streak for a long time, and there's no day where I am simply finished with it. There's no day where I am going to back away from being uncomfortable. That is what it means to me. It is a metaphor for how I want to live my life, for the type of person that I am. Having something like this in your life and understanding why you are actually doing it. I know I've said this like 100 times. Understanding why you are actually doing it is a step that I find a lot of people are skipping over. A lot of people simply jump to the fact of, let's do it, let's get it done. Understand why first, because maybe you don't actually want to do it. Maybe there is nothing there. I would say want is not the right choice of words, because there are a lot of things that you won't want to do. I don't want to get cold, but I do want to be on the other side of it. I want to have done the thing because that shows me how much I respect myself. And even though I do not care about the scientific benefits of what a cold plunge could do for my body, I still experience those. I still definitely have a better cold tolerance, and I feel amazing coming out of the water, whether it be the endorphins or not. I still get every single benefit that is out there, but that's not why I do it, and I'm not going to try to optimize for that. Maybe doing it every single day isn't the optimal routine if I want all of the specific health benefits. But that, again, is not why I do it. So I'm not going to center a routine around that. I do it every single day because it is a metaphor for me that every single day in my life I will show up, do something I absolutely don't want to do, and get it out of the way so I can be on the other side of that. That is what it means to me. And if you have something in your life like this, similar, figure out what it means to you. Why are you actually going to do this thing? Because if you do not understand that, and you do not fundamentally understand that, after a certain time you will burn out and you will lose track. And this also directs how you are doing it in the moment. Again, like I explained, I don't center my routine around optimizing for the health benefits of cold plunges. This will go the same for any certain activity. You want to understand fundamentally why you are doing it so that you can act upon that in that way. Because there are many ways to do a thing, to get something done, and at the very end of it, sure, you have the same product, but I'm not looking for the product. I'm not looking for getting in and getting cold. I am looking for the lesson that it is teaching me every single day. And so that is why I show up and do it. I could do it in a lot of different ways, and I might have to in the future. Maybe there will be a time where I won't have the opportunity to show up and get cold. There's just not the environment for that anymore. And so I will have to do something else uncomfortable, because in its basis, all it is showing up and doing something I don't want to do today. I can do that in many different ways. I can find that thing. Sure, the outcome is different. The product of what I'm actually doing is going to be completely different. But the actual benefit that I'm pulling from that in the long term is staying the same. I'm still showing up and doing something I don't want to do. And since I understand that as my base, I have this filter to pass any action through. And while I am doing that, when I'm doing my cold plunges, I know, yeah, this isn't comfortable. This isn't something enjoyable. And that's okay. I can still be happy while I'm uncomfortable. Uncomfortability does not mean stress or depression or sadness. It can also mean happiness. It can also mean simply getting through the thing. And if you can find yourself on the other side of a very uncomfortable situation with a big smile on your face, well, for me at least, that is a big sign, and that is how I want myself to become, and that is why I do what I do. Now, I did have some notes that I done written down, and I won't take a look because I don't want to skip over anything. I'm getting bit up by skaters, I tell you what. Now, the thing about intentionality, what I find is it actually trumps actuality, the actual thing. And this is somewhat what I touched on with the fact of trying to pull yourself away from thinking about only the scientific benefits of it. Because that is, the actuality of it. But the intentionality, you're showing up and doing something for a reason, and you understand that, and that is why you keep coming back to it. It trumps any of the scientific benefits you can get from it, or any of the benefits that may be perceived and aren't necessarily there. A great way I like to think about this is if you think about organic food, and there is a lot of discussion around food, and you can find hundreds and thousands and millions of different opinions on what to eat, what's the right thing. And I'm not here to give you mine, but I personally like to buy organic food. And sure, I may be wrong. There may be actually very little of a difference between the health benefits between organic food and non-organic food. But I do not care. If there was a statistic that really showed me that, truthfully, I still don't care, because buying organic food, for me, is again a sign that I am showing up and respecting my body, because in a sense it is healthier. Simply the intentionality that I'm looking for a healthier option and willing to give out more money and more of my time in that sense for the healthier option shows me how much I care about my body. And I do technically, I believe that there is really a difference. I can personally taste the difference, and also most of the time feel it when I am eating food that is not as organically sourced or ethically sourced even. I can taste the difference. And the fact of the matter is, even if that was simply a placebo effect, I do not care, because the intentionality behind it is what I really am pumped about, what I'm really doing it for. It's the same way if you want to go with not eating certain foods. Sure, maybe this food doesn't actually affect me as much as I might think in my head, but as long as I am intentionally staying away from it, I understand why, then I am proving to myself that I care and that I can act upon things that I care about. And this is a concept that I find, I don't know if a lot of people will click with it. I've had it described to me by others, and this is kind of when I realized, okay, this is how I think as well. But I would say, I don't know, maybe the majority of people, it just won't make sense, because they are very statistic based, and I get that, I understand. But I find that for me, intentionality trumps the actuality of the situation. That I will do something even if I have no idea, and I don't necessarily want to spend all that energy and the time being 100% correct, knowing exactly why and how this is bad for me and that's why I don't do it, or why and how this is good for me and that's why I do it. I understand something deeper than that, something that is far more than anything that the numbers can represent. I eat this sort of food because I respect my body, and this is a way of showing me how much I respect myself. I don't eat this certain food because I respect my body, and by avoiding that, whether it actually makes a difference or not, it does make a difference in the long term because I am showing up for myself and choosing to stay away from certain things and gravitate towards others. And that takes energy and that takes consciousness. I'm not the type of person who will just show up and eat anything that's handed to me. And that tells me about who I am as a person. So I would really just recommend taking a look at your life and seeing things. Start with a morning routine if you have a bit of a morning routine, like I talked about. Why do you brush your teeth? Why do you get up at a certain time? Do you make your bed? If so, why do you do that? Figure out a basis for everything. And I would say a lot of them kind of come back to the same thing of self-respect. And once you look at it in this way, where, again, something as simple as brushing your teeth is now a big symbol of how much you respect yourself, how much you're willing to show up. Even though it's a menial task that everyone else does, doesn't mean that it doesn't actually hold water, that it doesn't actually affect who you are. And once you understand that and live with this intentionality, this wind to your back that's really going to push you, it is a beautiful feeling. It makes little things seem a lot bigger because they end up actually becoming bigger. They actually mean more to you. And you don't start looking for the big grandiose things in order to feel this way. You don't have to go out and do, I don't know, the things that people who have too much money and haven't thought about life all too much end up doing out on an island somewhere specific. You don't have to go through all that just to really have a good time in life. The simple is sometimes the better, and I would say more often than not, it is the way to go. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and gave you something to think about. Again, I don't want anyone to take what I say as face value, as if I'm trying to say this is how things are, this is how it should go. This is simply my perspective on life, how I see things, and I use this as a way to get that across and get that out there because I like hearing new perspectives and I want to share my own. So I'm putting it out there. And with that being said, if you have anything to say, of course, leave it down in the comments. I like to read it. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't like the video, please give it a dislike. And yeah, that is about it. And I will see you next Wednesday. I will hopefully be able to post that on Wednesday. But we'll see. Bye-bye.